Welcome back to the PillowFort podcast, guys. I'm here with Kate once again, and we are talking about One Piece. This time, we're going over the Baratie arc, which, for those of you who read along with us from home, that's chapters 42 through 68 of the manga, and a bunch of anime episodes that I don't have written down. But we're reading the manga, and that's actually going to be kind of vital for this week, because there is a little bit of difference between the anime and manga in this arc. But anyway, so as always, we will start with general thoughts. Kate, give me some general thoughts about the Baratie arc.
I love the idea of a sea restaurant.
Oh my goodness. Can I tell you, as a 16-year-old, right, I went to work, as you'll remember this, you were there, I went to work at, well, not in the restaurant, but
in your life, yes.
I went to work. Yeah, you were in my life. I went to work at Red Robin, right? And so the only kitchen knowledge that I had, right, was from a camp kitchen that I worked in as a kid and the Baratie, right? So I knew it would be somewhere in between the two, and I really wanted it to be Baratie. It was so not that. It was not that. It was a Red Robin kitchen, not a Baratie. I had some weird experiences, but none of them nearly as cool as this, so... But it is a great idea, though.
Concept of just like, and also just like the reason why like the concept came about from Zeph and everything. Like, it's just such a good reasoning. Like, you know, he was a pirate and he was like, yeah, pirates, like they're starving out on the sea sometimes. So like, I'm just gonna put a restaurant in the middle of the sea so that like, you know, pirates are starving, or if anybody is starving out there, like, they can just come to my restaurant. Like, you know,
yeah.
I really love that concept, as well as, like, the whole, like, fighting cooks concept. Like, it's so, oh my gosh.
It's the best.
It's an amazing concept.
It's the best place in the
really
world.
Great. I just love that so much.
I want to say, I've decided that if I was in the One Piece world, I know where I would be, right? It's not here, but I really wish it was here, right? I really wish that I would be a cook in this kitchen. I would not be, but I really want to be. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
It's a great concept.
Absolutely.
Great concept. I've also been watching a lot of Shark Tank, right? And so part of that is I think about the business model here, and it does not work at all. So it does not. I don't even know how, because like the problem is people are starving out at sea, right? Yes, I get that. I'm with that. But you then decide to solve that problem by going out to sea yourself with a restaurant. Like, what if you guys run out of food? Like, what if you guys get hit by a storm? It's the same problem. You're just... Now there's no restaurant out here. Like, you know, I'm willing to say maybe Zeph has taken some precautions, but I don't know if it fixes the problem.
Also, I just thought about this, but, like, you don't really see, like, any boats parked outside.
Right!
So how did everyone in the restaurant get there?
It seems like there's a lot of people in there when we first go,
but,
right?
You only see, like, the Marine's boat and then the Mary.
Yeah.
Like, those are the only two boats you see at the start. And I'm just like, I just thought about that now, too. I'm like, where are the rest of the boats?
Yeah, I don't know. Is this also, is this a high-class restaurant? Or is this for sailors? Because, like, if it's for sailors, why is it so fancy? But, like, it's like, and, like, Sanji, Zeph, all the cooks, really, are, like, gourmet-level chefs. Yeah. So, like, I get that, but, like, again, who's your target audience? Anyway, this is not my problem. The Baratie is an amazing place. I'm glad it exists in this world, but I have so many questions about how it's run.
Tank people figure that out.
Yeah. Kevin O'Leary, we need your help. I'm thinking about opening up a restaurant at sea, is what I'm trying to tell you. I want to, you know, I'm trying to...
You're going to go in front of the sharks and try and...
Yeah. Sharks, I have a proposal. We have, again, spent so much time on something that has nothing to do with the story. Last week was Usopp's nose. This week we're talking about Shark Tank. This is general thoughts with the PillowFort podcast, folks. We go anywhere.
Symptom of our ADHD.
Yes.
This is what we do.
We have problems, and that's okay. So anyway, getting into the actual story, we see the flag. We have a flag. The Straw Pirates have a flag. They have a Jolly Roger put up on the sail. Usopp is a great artist, which is kind of like out of nowhere. I felt like that came, but Luffy's that's okay. Not. I'll take it because Luffy sucks. Luffy's the worst.
Yeah.
No, I like that we have a flag. What I think is funny is like, so like if you were a weekly reader, right? Because this is the 42nd chapter when this is rolled out, right? So if you were a weekly reader of One Piece, you would have read like the better part of a year you've been on this train, right? And then you've seen this Straw Hat symbol in the title of the manga for that whole time.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like, and now Oda's finally like, oh, this is their Jolly Roger, for those of you who didn't know. Like, this is it. Like, and it's just, I don't know. It's like, I wonder what it would be like if you were a weekly reader. Like, oh, of course that's their Jolly Roger. It's been in the title the whole time. Like,
yeah, I didn't really think about that. It has been in the title the whole time. That's true. So.
And, like, obviously I was not a weekly reader. I would not have been able to read this manga, like, I don't think, at this time.
2002 or something like that.
I think it's literally 2 or 3. I think it's 2002 or 3. Yeah, I would not have.
You were not reading
quite ready for this
at that point, and nor would I. No. I mean, at that point, I was like 2 or 3. So, like,
definitely you weren't in it. Yeah, I think I was reading very light books at this point. So. Charlie the Caterpillar was a stretch. We weren't quite getting through. That's an inside joke for those of you playing along at home. All three of you. But yeah, so quickly moving on. First of all, Usopp has a role in the crew. He's the marksman. Just in case you were worried that he doesn't have a role, they're like, Usopp's like, I'll shoot the cannon, and it's like perfect accuracy. And they're like, wow, that's crazy. He's like, you're the marksman, and then we just kind of move on, as if it's like, okay, Usopp has a place now. Everybody calm down. And then we meet the bounty hunters, Johnny and Yosuke. Yes. How do you feel? What are your thoughts on the boys?
I think that they're fine. I mean,
they are fine. That's tough. That's not a compliment, folks. That's she's not a Johnny and Yosuke fan.
I think they're okay. They're a bit over the top for me.
A bit. Are they a bit over the top?
Sure. Very over the top. But like, some people are into that, so I don't want to say like, they suck or anything like that, because I don't think that they do. Yeah. But they're just not it for me, like they just don't do it for me.
Yeah. I wish I could vehemently disagree with you, but I don't. I also think that they're just okay here. I don't have any problems with them, but I don't I don't need them here. It does introduce, I kind of like the whole foreshadowing of like, we need other crew members, right? Because like with the whole scurvy incident, like I like that. First of all, I love anytime the manga references like a real life thing, and like scurvy was like a real life epidemic in this era, and so like, and it's literally because they didn't know to eat more citrus, like that's why, and people died. Yeah, and so like, I like that Nami like knows that, and of course Nami knows that, but we're not getting into that yet. We don't know that yet. Spoilers for a 20-year-old manga. But I like that they mentioned the scurvy thing and clearly point at like, we need people, we need other positions, and clearly they're pointing at cook, but even I'm thinking like doctor, because what happens if you get sick, which obviously eventually we'll get there, but yeah, I just like the scurvy mention. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I did too. I definitely thought that was interesting. And just like the whole like how they came aboard because they got stranded on that rock and they like just straight up destroyed it. Like,
yeah.
And then Luffy,
it just blew it up.
Luffy and Usopp were like, so we're really sorry. Like,
it's a bummer that we blew you up. It sucks. Yeah. This like starts the whole thing of like Luffy and Usopp being like best buds, and like they're best childhood friends that get in trouble together. And like this really is what like starts this trend, I think. But yeah, so eventually we make it to the Baratie. Luffy balloons himself up, shoots a cannonball into the roof, which is just a very Luffy thing to do. And we are introduced to Sanji.
Yes.
And his what do you think specifically? I'm not going for general Sanji thoughts yet, but specifically because we gotta save those, tuck those away. But specifically, his intro into the story, I think, is so interesting. I don't like his whole conversation with Full Body.
Yes.
That whole scenario is so like. I don't know. What'd you think about it? What'd you think about the intro?
I thought it was so interesting because, like, it's such an abrupt introduction to somebody. I feel like just them, just like, you know, obviously Full Body was being an asshole, you know, like, and he was like, you know, just like, hey, like, I don't like it here because you're like correcting me and I feel like I should be like the biggest guy in the room, basically, you know.
Yeah, Full Body's an ass. Let's not sugarcoat that.
But like,
that's for sure.
But even like the whole concept, like that's the first time we're introduced to a very major like point of Sanji's character, which is that like people need to respect food just in general, and like, you know, eating food and, you know, like preserving food and all of that kind of stuff. Like, it's just so interesting because like he beats the like absolute shit out of him. Like,
he demolishes him like bloody pulp. Like, it's bad.
And he's like a Marine. Like, this is like a government official, basically, walking
Marine lieutenant,
into your restaurant, and then Sanji just like beats him up. And like, you know, obviously, you know, he has his reasons for doing so. And, you know, in my opinion, it was a little bit like, okay, Full Body kind of had it coming, kind of, you know.
Sure.
But I mean.
Not bloody pulp is where I take it, but you're right. I'm with you.
To the extent, like, I'm pretty sure one good kick probably would have done it, you know. But
yeah, but how do we know that it wasn't?
It could have just been one good kick.
We didn't see
Sanji kicks pretty hard, so
it's a powerful kick.
One non-full power kick would have probably done it, but you know, like, I just thought like it's such an abrupt, interesting like introduction to somebody, and I like really enjoyed that because it's like unlike any introduction we've gotten to any character in the series so far, you know. I really like it. Like, shows the like you said, the food thing, which is a super important part of his character that we'll see in this arc. And then I also like he has this like suave air about him in that whole conversation too, with like the date that Full Body has. It kind of hints at like what he's kind of like, but he is like that stoic. He's being stoic too. It's just an interesting intro. I kind of wanted to talk about it. But we're also introduced to Zeph at almost the same time, as he's been hit, I assume, in the head with the cannonball, because his head is bleeding. And like, real quick, as a quick aside, we don't have to talk about this all that much. Zeph was like a world-renowned pirate, right? He's Redfoot Zeph, big guy. He just owns this restaurant now. What? Okay, was this not what Kuro wanted to do, like last arc? Like, he's living Kuro's dream. He gave it up, and like the Marines have just decided they're coming to his restaurant. They've just decided it's cool. Because he's not a pirate.
Yeah, anyway.
He's just like a regular chef now. So
yeah, he's just a chef.
That lets his employees beat up
the bad
people
guy.
Sometimes. Like,
Maybe that's why. They're not afraid. They're like, we're pirates anyway, mostly. I don't know what we are. We're something. We don't have benefits, so, We're not unionized yet, I don't think, so I don't know. He pays us all under the table. Right. He says to avoid taxes. It's the real reason why he wanted to have it on the ocean. No taxes.
Can't get taxed on the ocean.
Can't get taxed on the ocean unless you get that mail guy.
Unless you get coming back quick. It's coming to mail your taxes. You better watch out.
Deep cut for all 3 of you regular listeners.
Everybody's probably like, stop talking about the damn.
Stop doing this. Stop talking to me. Listen, I think they love the postman. I think it's a feature. I don't think it's a bug. Anyway, so I thought his negotiations with Luffy were really funny.
Yes.
Where he's like 1 year. Luffy's like, no. I can't spend that long. And then he's like, okay, give me your leg. Luffy's like, still no. Then Luffy's like 1 week or something. Like, it was like, my final offer.
My final offer is 1 week.
It's a negotiation. It's so funny.
I think it's really funny too, because like originally when he goes in there, Luffy thinks like he blew off his leg. Like, Luffy thinks that he's the source of what happened to Zepp's leg.
He blew the leg off, and then the man like got a peg leg immediately. And like he had one ready. I don't know what Luffy's thought is.
It's not even bleeding anymore. But
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I think that's really funny too. And even just like him working there afterwards, like he's just so incompetent at like doing everything.
He breaks every dish.
And he's like, should I have been counting how many I broke? Like he thinks he's supposed to be breaking them.
Yeah, isn't he like, I feel like he's like, oh shoot, I forgot to count.
And they're like, that's not the issue.
That's not the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luffy's great. Luffy working there is awesome. But we shortly then see Gin is come aboard, who's apparently a member of Don Krieg's like this infamous pirate crew, and he's like starved. Yeah. He escaped and pretty much essentially holds them hostage to give him food.
Yeah.
And we see Sanji just give him the food after they kick him out. How do you feel about Gin, about this whole interaction here?
I like just really enjoyed that whole interaction because, it becomes like known then that this is something that Sanji does often when like somebody gets kicked out. Is that he will go out and he'll make them a plate of food and just take it to them anyways. And obviously then we learn like from his backstory kind of more of like where his heart is coming from when he's doing that, especially with people that are starving, and like I just think that that's like such a great part of his character, and that like that's known among like his other coworkers and even Zeph, but like all of them are okay with it. Like all of them are like, he's gonna do that because that's what he feels like is right, even if they're not paying customers. And like that's I really enjoyed that, honestly.
Yeah, I love the thing. First of all, I think that this moment is where Luffy like decides in his head that Sanji's coming with him. Like,
absolutely.
And like we even see that because Luffy's like, join my crew. And he's like, Gin's like, how many people on your crew? He's like, 5. And then the guy's like, don't count me. Sanji's like, I'm not
the
on
whole
it.
Time he's
Stop
there.
counting me.
Luffy is like, Sanji is now my crew member, and anytime somebody asks me who my crew members are, it's all of us.
I will put his name on the list every single time. I just like, but like, I think it's this this kind-hearted nature that is at the core of who Sanji is that breaks through a little bit here. And that's what Luffy like latches onto and sees and really like wants to. That's one of the reasons why he likes him so much. And then I love the Zeph is like there and he throws the plate and he throws the dishes in the ocean. And he goes, "Where's the proof that I fed you?" I'm like, that's so dope, Sanji. Like, it's just a cool, like, obviously Zeph is there, he sees him,
right?
But it was really cool to see, you know. I like that Luffy is on the Sanji train and he will not be getting off, and then he stops. He's here to stay.
As we see, this is typically how Luffy operates making new crew members. He's just like, you are now a member of my crew. And the person is usually first like, no, I never said that. And Luffy's like, okay,
I didn't agree.
Okay, but you're a member of my crew.
Alright, buddy. Alright, pal. But you're coming. Yeah, but like to kind of hone in, I guess, more on Gin too. I love that the moral here, or at least what I assume Oda's trying to tell us, like Gin, because what we learn about Gin is that he is a monstrous person. Like he is not. Like the person that we see is like an incorrect picture of who Gin is. And like because Gin is like this, like they call him like the demon, like. He is like a monstrous guy, and this act of kindness that Sanji has showed him, he like cries when he's eating, and then ends up obviously later down the line being unable to do like what he's assumedly done thousands of other times in killing Sanji. Like he's not able to do it. He won't do it because of this, like essentially because of this act of kindness, because Sanji's overcome him with this kindness. I just like it's interesting. It's so different. I think it's so interesting to think that like if Gin was in this story in any other context, we would not feel sympathy for him at all. But in this context, I feel like in this arc, he's one of the characters we are supposed to empathize with. Like he's in this unwinnable situation.
Definitely.
But yeah. But that brings us to the big bad of this arc, or I guess one of the big bads of this arc. Don Krieg himself, who shows up, also starved.
Yes.
What are your Krieg thoughts? You got any thoughts?
I think like when you're first introduced to him, it's kind of like a conflict, right? Like you're like, okay, like this went okay with Gin, right? You know, like he didn't come back trying to shoot up the place or anything like that, you know. So like this could be okay, but also like because of his reputation, you're a little wary. And then obviously it does not go well, even to Gin's perception of how it's going to go. And, like, you know, he even says to, like, Don that, like, oh, like, but you promised me, like, you told me that we weren't going to do anything to this restaurant. Like, that we would leave it be because, like, we have, like, you're starving, our men on our ship are starving, everybody's starving. And just, like, also the fact that even in spite of all of this that's happening, even in spite of, like, Don Krieg being like, oh yeah, like, I don't care, just give me the food, you know, we're probably gonna take this vessel, but I need to feed my men first, you know, and the fact that, like, Sanji is still willing to give him the food, like, because he knows that everybody is starving, and then, like, I think it was, like, Zeph that actually ended up giving it to them, but, like, just the fact that they're still willing to do that, like, even just on the extent of, like, you know, and even, like, somebody comments on it, like, I can't remember exactly who, but it's like, wow, like, Sanji, you're just gonna give them food just so that you can kill them, like, that's kind of crazy. Like, yeah, I think Don is pretty interesting, like, he's definitely, I would say, a typical villain archetype, but, like, also, like, somebody that's very nefarious, you know, in this area.
Sure.
Even more so than people that we've encountered in the past. Especially in that, you know, he's commanding so many ships at once. And that, like, he has just gone into the Grand Line as well. And we hadn't really encountered many people that had done that, you know, up until this point, that had, like, gone out of the Grand Line and survived. And now we're seeing, like, Zeph as well as Don Krieg and his crew, and just, like, you know, kind of, like, foreshadowing for the difficulties that will be ahead, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Don Krieg. What I kind of think is interesting as compared to some of the other main villains that we've seen so far is unlike or similar to Kuro, he is deceiving, right? Like he's known, I guess, to raise the white flag or even raise a Navy flag when encountering other ships to deceive them, which is a tactic that, like, real life pirates would use all the time too. They wouldn't always be flying the Jolly Roger because then everyone would always know, like, every Navy ship would know, oh, it's, you know, pirates. Let's get them. And so he is deceiving and conniving. He's known to do that, but it's not viewed as, like, a weakness for him. And Luffy never questions his being a pirate. Yeah. Luffy has the whole time just says, I'm a greater pirate than you.
Yeah.
But he doesn't question, are you a pirate? Which is different than Kuro, because I think he's using this deception in the way almost that maybe in Luffy's mind it's like an acceptable form of piracy is to deceive you like that. Like, so I think it's interesting. I also think it's interesting that as far as we know, Don Krieg is the most powerful East Blue pirate that the Navy knows about. In the East Blue. That last part is the key for the arc that we're going to go to next. In the East Blue that the Navy knows about. Because there is another pirate that definitely would beat him, but the Navy doesn't know he's around. Because he's not very active. But anyway, that's for next week. But what that does tell us, though, is that this is the height of the East Blue piracy that we're facing now. And so when Luffy fights Don Krieg, he's fighting the most powerful East Blue pirate, the most reputable East Blue pirate, we'll say, that they know of, which is, you know, remarkable. Certainly, I mean, in Luffy's journey to, you know, continue in becoming infamous as a pirate. Yeah. But this does bring us to our first philosophical stop on this train. What? So this is like this feeding of them, right? That Sanji and Zeph are doing. I've thought, like, all week about, is this correct? Yeah. Like, can I stretch my mind to think that this is an okay solution in any way? Because I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to make Oda make a little sense here and agree with Sanji and Zeph, which is what I think he wants me to do. But I would not feed them. I would not. And this maybe is a little bit of Usopp coming out in me. I would not be feeding them ever. But I think the thing is this not a case of they quite literally, because both Sanji and Zeph do this, they quite literally would not wish the pain of starvation on their worst enemy. Yeah. And so they're quite literally making sure that their enemy doesn't feel that pain.
I think that's the thing. And also, I'm not sure if this is correct or not either, honestly, but it could be that also... like, Oda's trying to make the point that you don't want to face your enemy when they don't have all of their strength in them, you know? Like, you don't want to, it's almost like an honor thing, in a way, you know? Like, I want to defeat my enemy at their best, not at their worst, you know? Because if I defeat them at their worst, it will still be a victory, no doubt, but it won't be as, like, satisfying or as good of a victory, because I'll feel like, I haven't done as much as I would have had they been all healthy,
Sure. Sure. And, I mean, narratively, it would be just kind of a bummer if they just iced Don Krieg right there. Like, it would be like, it would not be nearly as impactful of an arc.
There would not be nearly as many chapters. So.
No, it would be over right there.
It would be like, okay.
It'd be pretty quick, actually. So, I understand, narratively why they would do that, but I also, I kind of, as you were talking about this, beat them at their full strength. One of the other things that Oda has said he does, I don't know if you've noticed, at least so far, Luffy doesn't ever kill his enemies at the end. And Oda was asked, in one of the SBS things, the where readers write into him and ask questions, he was asked, why is that?
Yeah.
Well, Luffy doesn't kill, but he's a pirate. He's clearly not super against it. He doesn't have, a no-kill rule, which was pretty popular in shonen anime at the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that, so, what's going on with that? And Oda says Luffy's enemies are left alive so that they can see their dreams crumble.
Oh.
As Luffy gets closer to his dream.
Wow.
And so it's more of a punishment for them to be alive and knowing that their dream will not come true.
Right.
That's a greater punishment than even
death.
And so that's what he's trying to say. Yeah. So that's what Oda has said that Luffy does. Because we don't see this problem in Zoro. Zoro does not have a problem killing his enemies. He can. I'm not sure that we have a confirmed death, but I feel I
don't know though.
There's gotta be one though.
He's sliced up some people pretty good, so I'm sure there's at least
I really
one.
feel like there is one. I'm not sure who though, because I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. But he clearly doesn't have any reservations. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. But and obviously we see Don Krieg at the end here go insane after he's beaten, and Geen has to take him back. So we see a little bit of that crumbling dream that he has there. Obviously, dreams being such a big part of the show.
Yes.
So, but moving on, right before we get to maybe one of the coolest parts in this whole arc, Nami has stolen the Going Merry and is just gone. And this feels almost like a side story.
Nobody really cares.
It's like Yosuke and Johnny swim up to the boat and they're like, Luffy, this is great. She's gone. She took the boat. She's out.
Yeah.
And Luffy's like, we gotta go get that boat, but I can't leave.
Yeah. And Luffy doesn't even just say that. He looks at Zoro and Usopp and says, I want her to be our navigator no matter what. That.
Oh,
and that's
so good.
Oh my gosh. I'm just yes. Yes, Luffy. Because after that moment happens, Zoro and Usopp both are that's so horrible. I can't believe we trusted her,
Yeah.
All this, that, and the other. And, Luffy's just she's gonna be our navigator. No matter what. It does not matter. She will be our navigator.
Yeah, Luffy's it's her. It's her or nobody.
Yep.
That's it. I love it. I love that. It's Luffy's, I feel most of the time in these situations, right? It's Luffy's almost bullheadedness.
Yeah.
That gets it's why this crew can stay together sometimes.
Right.
And this is and I think I love the scene. I actually didn't remember that this was in the manga, but I love the scene where Nami is sailing away with the ship, and she is crying, and she's I hope I get to sail with them again.
Yeah.
But it's clear that Nami is not. This is not like her other heists. She's not.
No.
She does not dislike these guys. She really did enjoy being on this crew. But she feels like she has to do this, which is, a good setup for next arc, if we're gonna track her down. But yeah, I wondered about Any new Nami thoughts from that? But I do love the Luffy moment where he's like, she's our navigator, go get her. And there's like, you know.
And you know, like, for as, like, thick in the head that Luffy can be, like, I think that, weirdly enough, he does have some kind of sense of telling, even when, you know, people do things that stray from, you know, what he thinks that they are. That, like, he has a very good sense of whether people are actually good or not. I think he has, like, such a good sense of that. And, like, he's showing that in this moment, for sure. And we, like, see it, you know, as well in, like, her crying and everything. And, like, obviously, you know, regretting having to do what she's doing, but...
Right. Yeah, no, I think he's incredibly intuitive.
Yes.
Emotionally, which is weird because he's so dumb, but
right.
It's like, but I think every member of the crew, there is something about them that others have shied away from, or been like that have made others like just not be associated with them. But Luffy is always like, I see the good points, and they outshine those. Right. You know, even thinking back to last arc, I see Usopp is a liar. He fabricates these stories. He talks big when he doesn't have to. But I see that he's a good guy. And I see that he's actually braver than anyone else by doing this. And so I'm going to defend him. Like, yeah, he is very intuitive about that. But going on, we are introduced to Dracula Hawkeye's Mihawk, who sails up on a single raft and slices a galleon in half. What do you got on Mihawk thoughts? I'll just open the door. We'll see where that goes.
First of all, savage. To just...
Oh my word,
pull
yes.
up and just slash a ship straight up in half. Like, that is, like...
Yeah, it's tough.
And, like, then we also find out that this is, like, Zoro's goal. And it's coming at him much faster than he thought it would. Right?
Yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy efficient.
Like, it's crazy fast. And, like, we can tell, obviously, that, you know, like Hawkeye Mihawk is at a very different level. I mean, even in just the way that he pulls up, right, and slashes the ship entirely in half.
Yeah, I don't think Zoro can do that.
Yeah. Definitely Zoro can't do that at this point. So, like, I don't know. Like, it's hard because we don't know a whole lot about him, right? Like, we don't, even after this encounter that we have, even after the duel that him and Zoro end up having, we still don't know a whole lot about him other than he is basically currently the greatest swordsman in the world, right? Like, that's the only piece of information we really have about this man. And he, like, goes around the sea on a tiny pontoon boat with, like, his just giant sword, and he just goes around like that, you know? Even, like, through the Grand Line, even in, like, storms that have wrecked completely other gigantic ships, he's just chilling in his little pontoon boat, like, hey, what's up?
I think his introduction here does such a great job, and so much of this arc actually is about what faces them in the new world, or in the Grand Line. Like, what dangers are there and what faces them. Obviously, Zeph having been there, Krieg wanting Zeph's logbook so that he can go. Like, so much of it is about this, like, not knowing what's out there is the scary part. And then to have Mihawk come in and be like, I just... Because even the crew is like, why are you doing this? He's like, for fun. I was bored.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying. That's
so
incredibly terrifying. That a man with that much power could just be like, I wanted to kill 50,000 people. You know, no problem. It's definitely crazy. So, yeah, obviously this is like the scariest thing that they've seen so far. This is so incredibly much more powerful than anything the Straw Hats have faced, right? It's so much bigger that it would be terrifying to encounter, and Zoro just goes right at it.
Yeah.
Zoro just is like, you're the guy, I gotta fight you, let's go. I'm gonna fight you. And Mihawk says, and this quote is infamous, by the way. Mihawk says, at least in the official translation, it might be a little different for the scans. He says, he pulls out the little knife, and Zoro's like, "You're gonna fight me with that?" And he goes, "I'm not a moron that I would hunt a rabbit with a cannon." And I'm like, whoa! My goodness, the disrespect. Just
yeah, I have a whole sword in my mouth.
Just mean. Like, I mean, I got 3 swords. I got 1 sword in my mouth, and you're gonna roll.
Like, I would not use anything else. Like, I don't know about, like, in what this version that you're reading, but in the scans, like, it also says that, like, he says, if I had a smaller one, I would use it. And I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, this guy is just rude.
Yeah! Oh my gosh.
I love him, though. He's great.
It's just cruel. It's just cruel. He's great. He is great. Then brings up, I think, maybe to date, 3 of the coolest Zoro moments that exists. Like, so he gets him with the little knife, right? He gets him in the chest.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you back up? And Zoro's like, I feel like if I take 1 step back, it'll be like I gave up on the dream.
Wow.
That is so cool. It's mind-bogglingly cool. And what I love about this arc, right? So this is Sanji's introduction arc, right? Sanji, obviously, spoiler alert, but I already told you that at the beginning of the video. Sanji joins the crew.
Yeah.
So this is his intro arc to us, right? And so we're supposed to be learning about Sanji, right? So one of the things that I'm thinking about is like, okay, why did Oda decide to put this encounter in this arc? And I think that it's very important to tell us who Sanji is, because Sanji the whole time says, why won't this idiot just give up? While Zoro is saying, absolutely not. I won't even step backwards because I feel like that's a retreating. That's a weakness. I won't even take a step back, which is the coolest thing ever. But like, it shows, like, because on the outside, right, both Sanji and Zoro are very stoic and, like, rough people.
Yeah.
I think, you may even consider them rude. Like, they don't mean to be.
Yes.
But I think they're rough, their exteriors are rough. And I think Zoro really is that guy. I think he really is the stoic, Lone Ranger kind of hero guy. I think that's who he is. But I don't think that's who Sanji is. I think it's an act that Sanji puts on. And so when Sanji is pressed like this, he can't even understand why Zoro wouldn't just give up. Because what Sanji's been doing for years is giving up his dream to do what he thinks he has to do to help Zeph. So he's already been doing this for years, and so he's like, why won't this guy just give up? Giving up your dream is an easy thing to do in Sanji's head, if it's for others. But Zoro's like, I will die before I step back, which is amazing. Oh, Zoro's so cool. And then, first of all, that is Mihawk's first
this guy's
little like,
cool.
I really like this guy. I like you. I was gonna murder you. I was just gonna kill you, but I like you now, so you might live. We'll see. Yeah, he pulls out the big sword. They have the final attack. Zoro clearly lost, and he turns around, sheathes the sword, and like puts his chest out. And Mihawk's like, what's going on here?
Like, wow,
wounds
really
on the back are a swordsman's shame. Oh my god!
I liked him a little bit before. Now I like him.
Yeah, you're my favorite. You're my favorite. I love you so much.
Right.
And like I love. Also, you see Luffy literally holding Johnny and Yosuke down, so that they don't go into the fight. Like holding himself back. Because he wants to get, because clearly I think he cares about Zoro here. He wants to be involved, but knows he cannot be. knows that this is not his place, and so he needs to. Yeah, so he holds back until that final slash, and then he goes right for Mihawk. He jumps right in the fray, and Mihawk is like, he's alive.
Not fine.
And he's like, yeah, he's gonna live. He's hurt for sure, but he's gonna live. Yeah, he's definitely hurt. And then on top of that, we get the moment where he holds up the sword, crying, which I believe actually is the only time that we've seen Zoro cry, by the way. I don't know that we'll ever see it again. I can't think of another moment. I think this is it.
That's definitely spoilers, so...
Yeah, we're going to have to definitely discuss that. That was not within the spoiler range. It was not within the range. I'm so interested. Alright, we got to move on. But like so he holds up the sword, and he's like, Luffy, I'll never lose again. Is that okay? Is that like looking for like he's so clearly he's like he's making a vow with Luffy almost more than himself that he'll never lose again, so that he's worthy of taking on the title of the right hand of the Pirate King. And like this is again goes back to my Zoro is more serious about this than anyone else, and he gets upset with you if you're not as serious as he is. Zoro is, I don't know how much you know about Michael Jordan, but there's a whole Michael Jordan documentary where like people are like, oh, he was hell to be on the team with, but like we were really good. Like it was, and like this is what Zoro is. He's so serious about it that he gets angry at you if you're not serious. And this is why, because like he loses one time to the greatest guy ever, and it's like he's like, I'll never lose again, I swear. And Luffy's smile, and he's like, yep, that'll work. It's so good.
Even, like earlier, he says
these two have a bond that's amazing.
Earlier on, Luffy said, well, yeah, I mean, like the greatest swordsman should be an attainable goal for like a crew member of the Pirate King. So if you can't even do that, what are you doing? You know?
Right.
So he's like, he's basically saying, like, I will never embarrass you again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not ever
gonna it's so
lose,
good.
So that, like, you can be proud of me, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good.
Yes.
It's such... All three of these moments are like amazing moments by themselves, and they all come in one package. And then I love, as I said before, this contrast with Sanji, who even after this declaration is like, walks away being like, this guy's a moron. Like, he just doesn't understand him. Which I'm like, it's so interesting that Luffy so understands both of these men, but they can't understand each other at all. Yeah, anyway, but
he's just
it's really good. Did you have anything else on Mihawk? And then Mihawk just leaves, by the way. He's just like, I'll go out here.
Well, first of all,
even when Krieg is like, wait up there a minute, Mihawk. Mihawk's literally like, Mihawk's got to be like, are you serious? Are you for real?
I could have murdered.
Did you see what I did to your giant ship? I killed that guy with a butter knife. I could have killed him. Could have murdered him in cold blood. That's the best swordsman in your entire ocean, and I could have killed him. I could have killed him with a butter knife.
Right now?
Is that what you want?
That's what you want to do.
You want me to whip the knife out?
You're getting out the measuring tape and even everybody else.
You want to measure right now, Krieg? Is that what needs to happen?
Stop.
Sure. Yeah, it was like, Krieg, please stop. Don't say it. Yeah, I really like it. No, I don't know. You have anything else on Mihawk or that whole encounter?
He's just cool.
Yeah, so he just pieces out. And then he's just gone for a while. Like, we'll see him again eventually, but like, it's just like, and I think that's why I think that this moment is supposed to be like, you should be scared of the Grand Line. This is terrifying.
It's not.
In case Luffy convinced you that this is going to be easy, it's not. this is the monster that awaits you. But he's still not that bad a guy, you know? Like, at the end of the day, he left Zoro alive, and he just wants that competition, which is interesting. But yeah, so the fight gets kicked off, right? And there's a fighting deck for this restaurant at sea. At first I was like, why do they have this? Why are they expecting this scenario? Like, why? And then I was like, maybe it's for, like, outside seating. Like, if it's nice. And then I was like, okay. Alright, I get it's fine. I don't need to beat up this concept any more than I already have. But, we are also introduced to another Krieg pirate that I think is interesting in Pearl.
So as you can
what do you think already, of Pearl? Give me some Pearl thoughts.
I love Pearl so much.
Yeah, I know you're a big Pearl fan. I know you're a big Pearl fan, so I really was looking forward to your thoughts.
Oh my
for
God.
sure, the shining star of this arc. I know he's going to be your pick.
As is probably apparent. Nobody should like Pearl. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
If you like Pearl, we will shame you.
Nobody should like Pearl. Let's just put that out there.
You're just wrong.
Yeah, you're incorrect.
No, but
you're just not right about that
really,
opinion.
He's very strange as a character, as a fighter. Like he cannot. I just don't understand how. They keep saying like, oh, he grew up in like the jungle, right? And then,
yeah.
And so,
no, I see where you're going.
His defense mechanism now, because of that, is
you're good.
lighting himself on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. So naturally, so he grew up in a jungle. So naturally, as happens for all those who grew up in jungles, Pearl can light himself on fire.
There's no
just
answers.
Randomly. Nope. You're never gonna get an answer. You'll never get an answer. Here's what's crazy. You ready for what's crazy? Literally something happened in the manga just recently that makes me think, is this Pearl? I think I have an explanation, but there's way too many spoilers. Also, the jungle part has nothing to do with it, so I think that Oda just made this up. And he might be able to retcon it, but it doesn't make Pearl any better. So, Pearl is still the worst.
Single nosebleed. And literally everyone is like, what is wrong with this guy? Like he's definitely, like, he goes into beast mode, lights himself on fire.
Yeah, no, he's the worst.
And then, I just don't. One shot by Gin.
It's
Yeah,
bad.
Exactly.
It's just bad. Pearl sucks.
And I'm like,
I think he gets one shot by Gin.
Like, I get it. This is the world of One Piece,
like,
right? So lots of things are possible. But also, before that, they were like, oh yeah, you can't, not even, a cannonball can break through my armor. So I'm like, that would mean that Gin would have to be moving with more strength and speed than a cannonball. And for a regular dude...
For a guy... Here's the thing.
Yeah. And he's not...
For a guy, though, I'm not even concerned about that, because Zoro is a regular dude and somehow is not dead. For a guy who says, I'm the invincible Pearl, right? For that guy to be on a crew with two people that could physically injure him, I feel like you got to give up the name Invincible, right? Because you're sailing with two others at minimum who could hurt you. Yeah. And then, on top of that, you just encountered Mihawk. You just saw him. And you're gonna have the gall to stand here with your stupid pearl hat and say, I'm invincible? Yeah, with the butter knife.
Yeah, but do not like
doesn't even need the big one. It did introduce us to the fact that Zeph is still no slouch. Because he, those flaming, pearls were flying at him, and he puts them out with like a wave of his peg leg. Like I never I think I didn't quite realize in my past read-throughs that Zeph is still very strong. He's just not. His like fighting ability is almost nullified almost immediately when Geen snaps his peg leg, because now he doesn't have any support. But like he could have been a fighter in this,
right?
Had that not happened. And I mean, obviously, if he had both legs, it would be even more effective. But like he was a pirate captain on the Grand Line. He went there and made it back. He's definitely not a slouch.
Yeah.
He's clearly strong, which is interesting. But that leads me to the backstory of him and Sanji.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think about this backstory? How do you feel?
As
an anime watcher, was there anything different about this?
Such a difference
compared, really just way more morbid
than the manga.
Yeah.
I do too. It's more
yeah, this one's way cooler, by the way. I prefer this story immensely. For those of you who just read the manga with us, right? What happens in the anime is he like gets trapped in the shipwreck and he cuts his leg off with an anchor. Still brutal, but not what happens in the manga. So
I think in the manga, right? Like you're like, okay, he could have then, in my mind, conceivably survived if he did eat his own leg, right? Like that could be a possibility.
Sure.
Yes.
Right.
And it's like more than a month. It's like 50 days, I think,
right? Yeah, because they were out there for like a month.
It's even more than that. So, like, he would not have been able to, like, the way that they made it seem in the animes, that, like, he hadn't eaten anything at all for that 52 days. And I'm like, you could maybe survive, but it definitely, like, would not be as close, you know? Like, you know... And, like, it's just so much more intense then, that when you think about, like, oh, he cut off his own leg to eat it? Yeah. Like, holy crap, like, wow. Just to give Sanji all of the food rations.
That's messed up.
Just to do that.
It's messed
he cut
up
off
stuff.
his own leg and did all of that. And the whole time making Sanji think that, you know, he has more food than Sanji does. Like, you know... While, like, it's just a bag of gold. And he's like, well, it really doesn't have any use right now, to be honest. But, you know, and, like, Sanji eventually discovers that because he goes over because he's so starved that he's, like, in this state of delirium that he's like, I'm going to kill Zeph and I'm going to take his food, right? And, like, he doesn't even realize, and then he sees, like his leg gone. And the bag is just full of gold. But yeah, like, it makes much more sense, their actions now, than once you get the backstory. Yeah. You're like, okay, I get it. Like, they spent so long trapped on this, like, rock with no food, with nothing. And, like, so it makes sense why they feed people in spite of their worst intentions.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, they know the pain. They know the pain of hunger better than probably anybody. I really like what it's, so, like, Zeph is clearly, like, an old, hardened man, right? Like, I think Zeph really is that stoic guy that we think he is, right? What I love about this is that Sanji... in my opinion, after reading this arc, I think Sanji is maybe the most caring character we've seen so far. He is the most kind character that we've seen so far. But then he was placed in an environment for most of his life that was this harsh, kind of like mean environment, right? In this kitchen with Zeph. That like made his exterior this harder exterior, and it made Sanji like a very interesting character, I think, who has this like hard front that he puts up, but is clearly this super kind, like emotional person underneath of it. But I really liked that liked kind of seeing that. And obviously these circumstances leading to that, obviously why he then feels so indebted to Zeph to stay with him and help this restaurant, because essentially he's like, you gave up your dream for me, so I'll give up my dream for you. And I love, like, there's this moment where Luffy's yelling at him. Luffy says, like, that's not why he gave up his leg. Like, he didn't give it up to you. Yes. He didn't give it up so that you would give up on your dream. He did it so that you would pursue your dream. And then we see a flash. We see a brief flash to Shanks' arm. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, this is the same. This is a connection between these two characters. That, like, Luffy is literally like, I know exactly what you feel, but you've let it hurt you too much. Yeah. You've stuck with that too much, and you've regretted your actions. You gotta move on, Luffy. Because what he wants is for you to pursue the dream.
Maturity, almost the, like, emotional maturity, and, like, you know, understanding that, and understanding that even Shanks in his own life didn't do that so that Luffy would be trying to repay his debt to him his entire life. Like, he did that so Luffy could go on and live his own life. Like, it's just so amazing to see that moment.
Right. Yeah. I love the similarity there. I love that Oda is like, Luffy has learned this lesson that Sanji hasn't learned yet, so I'm going to use Luffy to teach him that, to help him get past this hurdle. I really like that. I also love the whole thing where it feels like Luffy's fight with Krieg is all about grit. And I love that Luffy's like, a couple times we hear him say, like, without context, he says, like, one more punch will do it. For, like, the bomb stick and his armor. And like, we get the Zeph monologue of, like, what's important in a fight. Like, is this grit and determination that Luffy has. And he's explaining to Sanji, like, essentially, like, this is why he's a good guy for you to sail with. Like, this is why you should go with him. Get out. Like, so that he'll go with him. Yeah, I really liked Sanji's kind of slow realization about that. About that there's something different about Luffy that allowed him to beat Krieg, even though Krieg by all rights should definitely have won. This grit being a big part of the deciding of the battle. And it seems like almost Oda is then telling us that what the difference of what's going to happen to them versus the Krieg pirates when they go to the Grand Line is this determination is going to be the deciding factor. This grit is going to help them get through some of these challenges. Obviously, you know, when they roll up on the Grand Line, Mihawk doesn't immediately roll up and slash all their ships. It's a little bit of bad luck that Krieg ran into. We'll give him that. Yeah, that's messed up. It's just messed up. But, so Sanji, I'll just say, the whole last part of this arc, where they're trying to convince Sanji to go with Luffy, and Sanji's talking with Luffy about the all blue in his dream, and all that really stuff, the departure stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
Just also at the end where all of the cooks, the chefs, were they were like lying to him about how like his soup tasted, just so that he would be so mad that he would leave. Because they didn't feel like, you know, anything but, like, getting his own pride beaten down would make him actually leave. And, like, then him just, like, overhearing all of it. Like, overhearing everything that they said. And just being... And then he realizes, you know, in that moment, like, oh, like, they all want me to go and pursue this dream. Like... They all want me to actually do this, so maybe I should, you know? Like, I just really loved the ending moments that were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, they're so wrong!
Yeah, well, I love how wrong they are about it, by the way. I love how wrong they are about this. Like, if Zeph would, like, have a conversation with him, like, emotionally, so like, or have had that at any point in their time together, this could have gone way differently. Like,
yes.
Like, and I think this is the difference between why Luffy got the message and Sanji didn't,
baby.
is because Shanks communicated it and Zeph didn't. Like, Shanks was like, Shanks put the hat on Luffy and was like, find me later. Return it to me. Be a pirate. That's what I want you to do. Like, and then, like, even as soon as it happened, Shanks is like, what's an arm?
So
you know? It's all good. I got another one.
Yeah.
Like, this is, like, way different than what Zeph did. Like, Zeph said nothing at all about this, ever. Probably to anyone.
Is that actually... I don't understand this. I don't...
Yeah, all the time.
Is this
I don't.
Like a Japanese
I think that's what he actually calls him. I don't know what I'm missing about that joke, but that's, like, what he calls him. I don't know. Yeah, it has to be, right? There has to be some kind of eggplant joke here.
Like in modern
I just don't know what it is. Yeah, they have in the West they have different, and definitely now in the West there's a different eggplant connotation. Smartphones have ruined eggplants for us all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he calls. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's just supposed to be like demeaning. I think it's the communication that's the different part. It's like the vast difference, because even now they're like, maybe if we piss him off, he'll leave, which is the opposite of what he will do.
It's just like,
he will double down when you do that. He's done that every time. Every time that they. Yeah. I don't know. I love though and again, this is like Oda showing us who Sanji is with like him. I think this ending part is full of moments where Oda is like, this is who Sanji is, right? I think when he's talking about his dream to Luffy and he's like, have you ever heard of the All Blue? There is a panel where when Sanji says, have you ever heard of the All Blue? And his face lights up. It's like drawn differently. Oda like draws him differently for a minute to show like how happy this dream makes him. And like that's Luffy's whole thing, is pursuing your dream. Like, and so of course like this attracts Luffy to him, but I love this like almost childlike wonder that's still in there in this guy from years ago. He still loves this, and this is his dream. He's gonna do it. And that's when Zeph like makes the plan, obviously, to do the super thing. And then I cry real tears at the end of this arc. I can't. It hurts to think about. He like walks away real slow. Everybody's standing there. Luffy's like, aren't you gonna say goodbye? And he's like, no, I don't need to. And Zeph just says, don't get your feet wet. He just like such a like a grandpa phrase, like just, hey, watch out. Yes. Don't get messed up. And Sanji turns around and screams at the top of his lungs, bawling his eyes out, how thankful he is for everybody there. Not just for for Zeph for sure. And he's like, I'll never forget. Like, absolutely. I love it. It's so good because it shows this is who Sanji is. This facade, this like layer that Zeph has like beat into him, that is over this, is like there's cracks in it, and then it bursts open, and he's like, I'm incredibly thankful for all of you. They're crying, yeah. It was so good. And then Patty and Carne break out, like they start bawling. They're like, we're gonna miss you. Like, it's so funny. Right. And then Zeph, and this is why I say, like, I think Zeph really is the stoic, like, lone cowboy, right? Yeah. Because he's up there, and he's got, like, a tear, right? But he goes, men should part without saying a word. No. Like, he's like, this is who he is. He really is this. But Sanji's not. It's just been beaten into him. And so I love that farewell. It's so good. It makes me cry every time I read it. I can't read it like, without. We get it, Zeph. So you don't want to emotionally communicate. Sanji's farewell is so good. It still hurts me. Yeah. No, I got it, Zeph, but it still hurts,
You
man.
would have gone.
This is the problem. If you would have done this earlier, he could have found the all blue, maybe.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
Like, he could have. I mean, granted, he would not be anywhere near as strong as he is, but entirely due to Zeph's fighting style that Sanji has strength. Yeah. I don't know if you paid any attention to the color pages, but we're still on Buggy's, or cover pages rather. I think I said color pages, but Buggy's still doing his thing. He met Gaimon, and they're pals now, so that's cool. He met almost spoiled something for us there. He met an unnamed pirate that is a female out at sea that I almost said the name of. And they're both upset with Luffy for some reason, so they're after Luffy.
Yes.
And his crew almost got eaten by tribal people wherever they are. So that's what happened to the cover pages for Buggy and his crew.
Do not forget about him.
I just want no one to ever forget about Buggy. He's the best. But yeah, don't forget
I do
Buggy.
not.
But that's all I had. Do you have anything else about this arc that you want to say?
This
all right.
one.
Well,
for
that
sure.
brings us to the end. So what, Kate,
so
is your favorite arc so far?
It's so good. It made me cry.
Absolutely. That's the correct answer.
I laughed. I cried.
Yeah.
It moved me, Bob. Exactly.
I laughed. I cried. It moved me, Bob. If anyone listening understands that reference, I'll lose my mind. You have to figure out how to send me that you know. All three of you.
You know.
If one of you knows, I'll lose it. Yeah, no, the Baratie is my favorite arc too so far. It's just good. It has everything. Like the fight, the Mihawk fight is incredible. Zoro obviously has incredible moments with that. Sanji is, I think, a great character. I love learning about him. It's just a great arc. But that brings me to who is the shining star for you of the Baratie arc? Wow. Okay, I'm so interested. Good. I agree. I think that's also my shining star. But I had an incredible hard time not picking Zoro because this is like also a really good arc for Zoro. Yeah, it's both very good showings, but I gave it to Sanji just because it's his debut arc, so I gave him a little bit of a boost. Got a boost. All right, well, hey, thanks guys for listening. Definitely like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. So next week we're going to be doing the Arlong Park arc, which, if you're reading along with us, goes from chapter 69 to chapter 95. So definitely read, catch up with us, and we'll catch you next time here in the Pillow Fort.